Welcome back to the Beercraft Beer and Brewing Podcast, your weekly dose of beer nerdery and brewing geekery. I'm Ben, and this is my partner in hops, Andrew. Wednesday nights at 6:30, we ponder pouring the perfect pint or muse over managing a maladjusted mash. This week on the podcast, we bundle up and dream about winter beers. As the temperature drops and the frost settles in, there's nothing quite like a rich, warming beer to keep the chill at bay.
Just because it's cold outside doesn't mean it's time to pack away that beer gear. In fact, winter's a perfect season to experiment with those big, bold flavors that make this time of year special.
So grab your favorite cozy blanket, fire up the brew kettle, and join us today as we dive deep into winter beers and all the magic that comes with brewing in the cold.
Yep, so this week's episode of the Beercraft and Brewing Podcast, where we celebrate the art, the science, and the warmth of winter brewing. Let's get started on the Beercraft.
In the shadows of your garage, a new power awaits. Craft your own wine, just as crafty as my legacy. At Northwest Brewer Supply, you'll find the finest ingredients and tools. It's never been easier. Everything you seek in one place. Training is nothing. The will is everything. The will to act. So why buy another bottle when you never have to at Northwest Brewer Supply? A hero can be anyone. Even someone doing something as simple as making their own wine. Start today at Northwest Brewer Supply.
Celebrity voices impersonated poorly.
Welcome back. It's 6:30 on a Wednesday. So we're back in the studio for another episode of the Beercraft Beer and Brewing Podcast. This week, we're looking at winter brewing and all the beers we can do in the wintertime. But before we do that, we have the most important part of the show.
You know what that is? Looks like that clock in the studio is the right time, which means it's time to crack open a cold one and share our thoughts on some brews that fit the season. The moment you're all been waiting for, it's
Beer 30. Just do it. What are we waiting for? The beer's getting warmer. We got a couple of them here for y'all today. I got to take a trip up to Elizabeth Station in Bellingham. If you haven't gotten up there, do so quickly. Do so responsibly, but treat yourself. They have got an amazing bottle selection. Really love the folks out there. Good pizza today as well. I saw this one on the shelf, Andrew. It's Shiner's Holiday Cheer. I really couldn't resist it.
Well, I remember drinking Shiner when I lived in Texas.
Yeah.
I was introduced to it. I lived in Dallas.
There you go.
And yeah, I remember
it's a
Shiner
whole
beer.
institution. But their winter classic is brewed with peaches and pecan. Texas peaches.
Now I'm looking
and
forward
pecans.
to this.
Yeah, it sounds kind of fun.
I am looking forward to it.
Didn't realize it was, as widespread a tradition for the good folks at Shiner.
I know what the Shiner Bock is. The Shiner Bock's really good.
That's a tasty beer. All right, we've got a mahogany finish. Those of you in listener land. Hope you guys are doing okay, enjoying the show so far. We're having a blast doing it. Any good excuse to go drink beer with a buddy. Cheers. Oh, that is nice clarity on that beer. Good little head. Let's see what the nose says. Ooh, you smell it? Getting the peaches on there.
Hold on, I need rouse the head on this.
More head is good.
Ooh.
I get a really strong peach aroma on that. That right there's not boring.
I think the pecans hit me first.
Yeah, that little nutty.
Good.
That's really
Tasty.
good. Holy crap! So it's a
Peach on the backside.
It's a peachy, pecan-y Dunkelweiss. So it's a
not
wheat
very
beer.
dark. It's not a very dark Dunkel.
No, but it's got a nice mahogany, kind of with a ruby, little ruby red kind of thing going on there.
Yeah.
Oh, the pecan on the it finishes heavily with that pecan pie kind of profile. Peaches and pecan, what a brilliant combination. So it's a wheat beer. I did a little cruising on their website. They talk about they krause in this beer. Improves the clarity, improves the flavor development. Is that something you've ever done,
No,
Andrew? Krausening?
Krausening?
Yeah, so you take some unfermented wort.
Krausening, right?
Yeah, they take some unfermented wort and they add it for priming.
Another beer?
To a finished batch of beer, and
that will create CO2.
Well, it's gonna create the CO2,
Yeah.
but apparently it's gonna kickstart the yeast. They're gonna get rid of acetaldehyde and diacetyl faster, which on some of those lager beers they're gonna lager strains are gonna struggle a little bit with diacetyl at colder temperatures.
Yeah.
Sounds like that's what they're doing on this one. I've never done it. It's skim and foam, and you got skim and foam to add to another batch. I've never done that.
Add to another batch that's in secondary.
Or a brand new batch.
Or a brand new batch.
Yeah, so you can use the foam. You can use the foam as
as the
yeast.
inoculator.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never done that because I don't want to.
No, I've never done that.
But this one, they talk about adding fresh wort to a beer that's on the tail end of production.
Yeah.
Again, not something I'm.
No, I mean, as I've done the yeast washing where you do it that way after it's fermented, but not off the Krausen.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's really tasty. That peach. I love it when a fruited beer is recognizably the fruit in question.
So are you thinking that they Krausen it when it's conditioning?
I think it's the conditioning side of things.
Maybe to help with the peaches.
Yeah, they don't talk about when they added the peaches or how they added the pecans.
Interesting.
But they're getting it in there. Peach is that's a
it's not
noodly flavor.
overpowering.
That's a noodly flavor to keep in.
Yeah.
It's
'cause
not
it
a
can-
stable molecule.
Well, it can overpower you too, right?
It's been my
I mean,
experience
It
that
can really be out in front where it doesn't belong.
if you're lucky, I think a lot of peach, using actual peaches, you end up using a ton of them because it's not a stable molecule. It's not very large, and it hitches a ride on a bubble and gets sent out the top of the fermenter. If I want peach in a beer, I'm going to use apricot, just because it's a
Different molecule?
Yeah, it's more stable
molecule?
Yeah, and if my friends can tell the difference between a peach and an apricot, they don't get free beer.
Wow.
Man,
That's pretty good. Because they should be making their own then, right?
This is coming out. This peach flavor is coming out nicely. Well, I'm enjoying that.
It does have a bit of dryness to it.
Yeah, finishes.
A dry finish.
Yeah, with a little nutty back. Nutty
Now
at the back.
Their Shiner Bock does the same thing. It's got that back finish. So I wonder if they're using Shiner Bock and adding.
Well, Shiner Bock's not a Dunkelweiss. No.
I know.
Yeah, pretty good. Andrew, we're talking about winter beers today. I got a couple questions for you on the topic. What was the first winter beer you remember just falling in love with? What made that special?
It's called the Royal Tannenbaum Holiday Brew. It's from Kolschen, and it's the one where they put the Christmas tree in.
Like a whole tree?
Yeah, in the boil kettle. It's awesome.
What a production.
Oh my gosh, the first time I smelled it and tasted it, it was wonderful.
That's more than a spruce beer, isn't it?
It is good.
I expect big pine, resiny pine flavors in that.
Yeah, well, I don't know when they brew it in December.
Naturally.
Right around this time.
Or before December, so that it's ready in December.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you didn't see it up at the bottle shop.
They had just started working on their winter collection.
All right.
So they had just had some coming in. They hadn't reset the store quite yet for the winter beers, but out there, she pointed me in the right direction. Found some cool ones.
Well, not like we don't have friends up in Beeham that we
Right.
can
Hey, buddy.
get a hold of
It's a
a
beer.
couple cans.
Yeah, if you're listening, we need some. What was the beer called? It was the
Royal
Royal Tannenbaum.
Tannenbaum.
Yeah, we need some of that.
Yeah.
Somebody hooks up.
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
I remember the first winter beer I really loved was Widmer Brothers Burr. Do you remember that one? Kind of a red bottle label with white lettering. BRRRR.
Burr.
Yeah, It was labeled as a Northwest Red Ale, so very, very hoppy.
Yeah.
Like a red IPA.
Spiced?
Not spiced, but it had those the pine kind of finish. I know they use Centennial in it, but I believe they also had some Simcoe and some other fun stuff. I tried for years to clone that beer, and I had some margin of success right up until my folder that contained all my beer recipes on Beersmith shit the bed.
Oh no!
I lost the first couple years worth of beer recipes that I was after.
Back up early, back up often.
Yeah, it was. I wasn't doing hard copy like I do now, and so that beer got lost to the end to antiquity. Then Woodmer Brothers changed the hopping on it. They went to that alchemy hop blend that they do every year. It's a proprietary blend based on the season and harvest schedule to produce some sort of flavor profile.
Top flavor.
It was okay.
Sounds good.
The beer tasted different with the alchemy hops, and I was really rather disappointed with that one. Any brewing traditions that you have?
A brewing tradition?
Yeah, like particular beer you always brew for the holidays, anything like that?
I usually have never brewed during the holidays for some reason.
There's a lot of other things to do.
Yeah. It's almost like I'm thinking my pumpkin beer was the last beer I'm brewing, because I would have just brewed that about 3 weeks ago normally in my normal schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be something like right now going and brewing. It would probably be my stout that I brew.
The Ox.
Yeah, but not necessarily for the winter time. Maybe I'd put some coffee in it or something.
Making me drool. I'm just dreaming about drinking the Ox again. I know we talked about that last week, and the week before that, and the week before that.
Yeah, so that'd be my winter beer.
Subheads.
I would start. Okay, so if I was supposed to make a winter beer for us, I would start with that one, and I would.
It's your homework now.
Yeah, I would add some spices.
Sounds good.
Well, I'm not gonna say what kind. I'm gonna guess some,
I will wait until you brew it.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna have Ben guess.
All right, that sounds fun. I used to do a chocolate cherry imperial stout. Yeah, and I would do something fun. I would split the ferment into 2 different vessels, and I would ferment half of it on wine yeast, a BM44 or BDX. Now they've done some changes to that strain, but the strain would present with cherry flavors and some structure.
Yeah.
So kind of the goal or the original thought experiment was if I could maximize on alcohol potential from a yeast that finishes bone dry and get a little body from it, I could maybe reduce my grain bill slightly. Was kind of the thought I had. If I can get an imperial strength beer with something that wasn't it. As far as the experiment to reduce my grain bill, not really, but the beer was really good.
Yeah.
One of the things for the wine yeast, I had to add an enzyme to break it down all the way, because that yeast can't handle maltotriose. So we put in an enzyme, Amelia glucodase, or I'm butchering that name. The same kind of enzymes you're going to use in like your brut IPAs. It's going to convert all this long chain sugars into little short ones. They'll completely ferment out. I added some to a beer.
Alpha amylase.
It's a version of alpha amylase that works at fermentation
Amelia?
temperature. Amelia glucodase or something like that. Yeah, it's another enzyme that works at fermentation temperatures instead of mash temperatures. It was kind of cool. And that was kind of fun. That beer came out at like 9.5%. But I would also take a shot of Jameson and drop that in there. And I didn't do the math after that because I quickly forgot how.
What was the sugar level when you brewed it? When you brought it out of the boil kettle?
The wine yeast one went completely bone dry, 1.00.
What did it go in at?
1070, 1080 kind of landscapes. Yeah, it was up there. The beer yeast finished at like 1030, but then it dried out when I blended the two in the packaging. And it was still a little sweet, and that's why I went to the Jameson to dry it out a little bit more. I'll tell you, Do not drink 3 of those before carving a
Shot of
turkey.
Jameson.
Before carving a turkey, it's a bad idea. I have an electric carving knife that I nearly lost all my fingers on. We got another beer today.
Right, let's do it. What is our other beer?
It is a Belgian from the
Extra long beer 30. This is great.
a Hugh Brewing in Belgian. This is their
Got the-
Delirium
it's got
Noel.
The cage on it. Wow, cage
Yeah,
on
it's a
it.
pretty bottle. My wife says this is her bottle now.
Yeah.
I get to drink the stuff inside.
It looks
she wants
like it looks like they are the vessel type ceramic kind of.
It does look like the ceramic bottle, doesn't it?
Stone.
I was excited for that, but it turns out it's glass.
Yeah, I know it is. It's just painted that way.
So this Delirium, they have a whole series of this Delirium beer, and
It's almost. Ooh, yeah.
Jiminy.
It's almost like the Stein. There you go.
so that went out. We now have a
Hold it over the top of your glass. There you go.
There we go. Not on the, you mean not on the electronics?
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
put it on the electronics.
We're spilling
This is why we have a
beer
nice table
in
in front of
recording
us, folks.
studio.
Wow, we just had it boil over. Yeah. Perfect timing.
Make your own wine you will at Northwest Brewer Supply. The finest ingredients they have. Grapes, yeast, and more. Craft your dream vintage you can. Easy it is with kits and tools all in one place. The force at Northwest Brewer Supply. Strong it is. Make your wine you must.
The wine galaxy isn't so far away. Visit Northwest Brewer Supply on South Spruce Street in Burlington or online at nwbrewers.com. Celebrity voices impersonated poorly.
As for cleanup
We're
on
back,
aisle 4
folks.
here.
We are back after the eruption.
I'm a little moister now.
Wow, that was great.
Yeah.
Hey, what a beer! Nothing like effervescent beer. Come on, cheers!
Cheers,
beer 30.
man.
Beer 30 round 2.
Ah.
Ooh,
You get some spice character on the
Smell
nose.
that spice, Belgian yeast. Oh, whoa. It makes me like tremble all the way back. I mean, what
That's
is
got a lot of things going on right there.
the delirium.
Delirium. It's got a cool
Noel.
pink. It's got a pink elephant on the label, which
I
is
think
which is
delirium
kind
is
of cool.
always a pink elephant. Yeah.
The Delirium series, yeah, there's 6 different in the lineup. I did a little digging, and apparently the first one, the Delirium Tremens, was the name of the beer, was banned in the U.S. When it was first released. They were worried that the labeling would encourage excessive drinking.
A pink elephant.
Yeah, the pink elephant.
That's what everybody's gonna see when I drink this beer.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it.
Probably
wow,
right.
That's a really tasty beer. Man, it's got a lot of things going on.
It does. It's good Belgian.
That yeast is doing all the heavy lifting. I'm gonna make
Okay,
sure.
so what makes this the winter beer?
So this is the one that other
Spices?
than the. I think it's got that little spice character.
yep.
It's like 10%, so it's not a lightweight
It's
beer.
it's a winter beer to
Yeah.
keep you warm.
Absolutely. Color-wise, we've got kind of a orange orange leaning into reddish browns. The head on it,
10%.
I mean, it's effervescent. I mean, it blew up as soon as I popped that cork. Makes a nice puddle in the studio.
That's what it's here for.
That's right.
We have a finely tuned studio that
Yeah.
we can hardly
The
hurt
beer,
anything
it's beer
anymore.
proof. That's good to know. That's
Beer
good to know.
proof.
Whew, this beer.
Okay, what are we spicing this with? I taste some spicy stuff in here.
It's not clove. It's not maybe a little nutmeg kind of thing going on.
Yeah. Who knows? You
It could be just phenolic
you can
character
never
from
tell
the yeast.
the combination.
Yeah, they
Might
don't
be
they don't
might
talk
be
about
just
it.
a heavy warmer. Okay, so let's talk about the difference in winter beers. You have a winter beer, you have a spice beer, you have a winter warmer. Are we gonna talk about that a little later on our
Well, we can just segue right into that kind of information. I do have a list of different beers we can talk about. The winter tradition, there's not really set in stone rules.
Right.
Dark beers certainly become, I think, a little bit more popular in the consumer mindset.
Yes,
There's certainly a portion of the population.
Kind of where I sit with what I'd make.
I want to drink dark beers when it's dark outside. I don't drink dark beers in the summertime, typically.
Right.
Although I've had a few that I did enjoy.
I do.
But so dark beers, breaking out those roasted malts, those chocolate malts, getting those.
Mine's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
It's got some good body to it.
Yeah.
So I usually don't make it during the summer.
So those chocolate, coffee, caramel flavors, dark fruit kind of flavors, whether that's a yeast profile or actually adding fruit, which is not illegal, despite what certain Germans might in the 1500s might tell you about.
1516
fruit in beer.
Ryan Heiskebach.
It is not against, there was a Bud Light commercial or Miller Lite commercial had man law, no fruit in beer kind of thing. Yeah, screw those guys.
And then they buy Elysian.
Yeah,
Who has the number one
number one fruit beer
world.
ever. Yeah. Oh my god. So dark beers, commercial examples, obviously Guinness Draft, Murphy's Irish Stout, Young's Double Chocolate Stout. Those are going to be prime examples of some big dark beers. Double stouts,
Okay,
a bigger stout is good.
Fremont has the B-bomb, which
we drank.
abominable.
Remember we drank that one 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah, I looked for it. They have a 2022 at Elizabeth Station, but they did not have any of the 2023 or 2024s out yet. Though I expect those will be out soon.
Yeah.
So pick up enough to store some.
I was at the Trails End Tap House.
Oh, that's a fantastic
Remember?
place.
They had one. They had one there.
The current lineup?
No, it was 2020.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's a good beer.
Heck yeah, man.
What a good beer.
Almost 4 years old.
Heck yeah.
Oh, it was so good. And they're so nice there. I mean, they come
Trails End?
They're concierge, and they're like, "Oh, you gonna order this beer?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, bring it to me like on a
let me get that for
cloth
you.
thing with a white glove."
Oh yeah.
Nah, they're really nice there. Really super cool people.
Fantastic.
Spice beers, that's up to anybody who brews them.
Yeah.
Coriander, nutmeg.
Well, yeah, coriander is a classic in the Belgian wit. That's one of that's a flavor profile for that.
Spruce, juniper.
Absolutely. The Sati uses juniper twigs. Spruce beers are classics. But any of your pumpkin pie spice beers are pretty popular. I think probably most of the things you're going to see has like cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice.
Yeah. That's where we start out.
Yeah. A lot of brown ales brown ales and porters with a spice payload.
See, when we did our spooky episode is when we were supposed to be brewing our pumpkin beer.
If you like that sort of thing.
Yeah,
you could do that.
We can just eat the pumpkin.
So your bigger beers are also pretty popular this time of year. Your high ABV, that's probably something to do with the cold temperatures. You want something to warm you from the inside. Yep. If you have to drink something cold, you better have it alcoholic.
All right.
Your higher ABVs, your imperial strength.
Every beer really can't be a high ABV beer,
Well, high for beer, 10%. This beer is clocking in at 10%. I would consider this a high ABV beer.
Right. But I know of a light beer that's 7-something%. Right?
Yeah, the American.
That's a high ABV.
Yeah, but that's normal strength beer nowadays. You go to a brewery, 7%. If it's under 6%, you're not selling anything.
Golden,
yeah. So high ABV beers, cranking up the malt bill to produce 8, 9, 10, 12% maybe. You ever had Utopia from Sam Adams?
Yes.
I've never had one, but that one was like 24% or something like that.
No, I've never had that.
Who could afford it? It's like $300 bottle of beer.
No.
It's got a cool bottle, but I don't know that it's.
I bet one of our sponsors can afford it.
Yeah. Hey, if you're listening, we got some Utopia up in here.
Utopia.
Here's a fun one. ESB. The original
This is one I would expect.
The original ESB from Fuller's was their winter beer.
Right.
That was going to be their winter seasonal.
A little maltier, a little bitter, more bitter,
right,
like a little punchier, a little more of their bitter beer, but more.
Right.
And they didn't want. Are they snooty on stouts?
Bitters,
No.
bitters are just any. That's kind of the English go-to for your pales. You'd order a bitter. The marketing department got a hold of that beer sold really well. That winter, the original winter ale, and they changed the name to Extra Special Bitter, or ESB, and sort of the name stuck. ESB is not actually a style in terms of if you look in the BJCP style guidelines, you will not find ESB as a style name. ESB was pure marketing department, pure gold marketing department too, because that beer got real popular coming over stateside.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Red Hook made a fantastic ESB.
Yep. You betcha.
I drank a lot of that beer.
And they combine it with the Norwegian population that they're surrounded.
Oh, sure.
And bam, man, they're popular.
Yeah, ESB. So you're going to have balanced malt sweetness, typically a little bit, quite a bit of hop bitterness, toffee, caramel, some fruit characteristics, all tied up in a medium body and moderate alcohol content. Pretty drinkable stuff. Yep. You can find that. Bass Ale makes a fantastic one. Fuller's ESB, the original. Shepherd's Neem, Bishop's Finger, all excellent examples of that beer.
Bass Brewery is in England?
England, along with Fuller's.
Yeah, and Fuller's too. Well, what do you think about barrel age selections?
Oh, so these are some of my absolute favorites.
Even to wooded beers.
Wooded beers, oak beers.
Oak beer.
I love them this time. We talked about B-Bomb. That is a big barrel project from Fremont. They've got 4 and 8 and 12-year-old versions of those beers. They blend into something cool every year.
Yeah, it must be nice.
That's
great.
Really fantastic. So those oaky beer, that oak profile, you're going to get vanilla notes from the oak. You're going to get structural tannins from the oak. Oak was traditionally used because it has preservative qualities for beer. So we didn't just use it because it shapes into a barrel really well. We were literally trying to store things in it. Which is cool. Barrel aged in wood. So wood. We talked about woody flavors, kind of that general oakiness.
Toasty.
And these are generally going to be higher ABV beers as well. They're going to stand up to aging.
Now, how come the barrel ages are higher in ABV? Is this because the wood actually absorbs the water? And then it kind of travels through the wood to evaporate off.
Yeah, you got some evaporative losses, and it's sort of kind of like a concentration kind of thing, without running afoul of the law. Because anytime you concentrate your liquors, you're technically
kind of like
distilling,
oxygen moving through a plastic bottle. See, I'm getting all that. It's physics.
A lot, yeah. A lot of the flavors we're gonna get from oak, apart from the wood kind of characteristic, is
phenolics,
vanillin.
The vanillin?
There's a American oak in particular has a strong vanillin component that dissolves into your beer, and it's really nice. Barrels are that's a whole other topic for another day. We could spend probably an hour yakking about barrels, and we probably will. So stay tuned on the Beer Craft.
For the barrel.
So we talked about excellent examples. We talked about Fremont's B-Bomb, Bush Prestige, Firestone Walker Double Barrel Ale. I've had that beer. Fantastic. Firestone Walker's out of California.
Cali.
Yeah, Southern California, like Santa Barbara County area.
Is it?
Yeah, and it's the Firestone,
like
as in the tire company.
That's like mid Cali?
It's north of LA.
North of LA. Yeah, it's about mid.
Yeah. It's I remember it took a bit to get there.
Southern California, it's like San Diego. Yeah, completely different.
Yeah, completely. That is Firestone Walker out there. That is the Firestone Tire Company. One of the kids does a brewery, fantastic brewery. They got a winery as well. That's amazing.
Yeah. That's cool.
Sam Smith's Yorkshire Stingo, not one I've had, but I've had some other Sam Smith's offerings. Fantastic.
Samuel Smith is a good one. Have you had Black Raven?
Black Raven. Yep. I've had me some Black Raven.
Woodinville, Washington.
Fantastic brewery.
Yeah. Yes, they have a great barrel age program.
Do they?
Oh yeah.
You didn't bring any with you, did you?
No. I'd have to travel to Woodinville.
All right, we'll be right back, folks.
I actually need to make a trip there. I haven't been there in a long time, and I used to go there all the time.
That was one of your hot spots, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
I went there after they were like, I think they were like 3 months old, and I saw them one day. I saw their sandwich board out on the main road. I was like, "Wah!" Like I never saw that before. A brewery.
Try not to wreck your car.
Yep. Pull in. Oh my God! Everybody is so happy. Hey, you know,
Customer.
yes. There was like 2 people in the brewery or in the little tap room.
It's rough when you start.
Tap room was tiny. Tap room was tiny, but everybody was such a blast. We went there probably 3 times a week for years.
Yeah.
For the first years, and they expanded and expanded again.
They had a really good program.
Amazing.
They do
yeah.
really good.
Super good. And yeah, they make they have their whole barrel room in that one part of the brewery
Juicy.
or the tap room. I don't even know if they have it anymore because I'm freaking like I've been gone for 6 years.
We got to do a road trip.
I don't even know.
Figure out how to take
if
the
something's
show on the
changed in
road.
6 years, I don't know about it. It's like I've been, out of the country for 6 years.
Weirdly in a whole nother geography. You ever done a spruce beer?
Yes.
Nice. Tell me about it.
I made like a lighter beer. I always make light beers. I don't know why.
Easy drinking.
And I had to go cut some spruce limbs off a tree so I could put in there.
There you
And I was mimicking the Royal Tannenbaum.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now, did it turn out? I don't think mine turned out very well.
Oops a daisy.
Yeah, but that's okay.
I've never brewed one. I'd like to. I'm told you want a certain species of spruce for like the big traditional one, and I don't remember what that one is. I tried to look it up today and got distracted by shiny objects.
You get all kinds of different things, resins.
Yeah,
Who knows what's
but
you didn't process the branches.
I had a spruce tree in my yard, and I remember the new growth coming off, and I popped that in my mouth, and it was clean. It didn't have have any of the pitchy kind of flavors to it.
That's where you get all your stuff. You want that pitch, but the pitch,
that's kind of rough. I'm
it
worried about my
reacts when
stainless
it's
steel at that point.
boiling,
Yeah,
and it turns into oil.
that's still good.
No, not at
Lipids
all.
are bad.
Bad.
Bad for head.
So who knows?
But
Who
you
knows?
can apparently Alaskan Brewing Company. They do a spruce beer.
Alaskan.
Annually. I'll have to keep my eye on for that. A spruce IPA.
Cool.
Yards Brewing Company, and Poor Richard's Tavern Spruce Ale are some notable examples.
Where's Yards Brewing from?
That I don't have in front of me.
Where is company Poor Richards? What is it? Yards? Oh no, Poor Richards.
Yep.
Yep, got you again.
Missing in action in my notes.
Golly.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll get it better. folks. Hey,
Yeah.
This is episode 10. Man, listen to the quality of the episode.
Oh, it sounds.
finally.
It's really sounding.
Fun.
The playback sounded great in my
So,
head.
Yeah, well, sounded good in my head.
There you go.
Probably a little heavy.
Speaking of heavy.
What
What about a wee heavy?
A wee
You
heavy.
can have a wee heavy.
All right.
Strong Scotch Ale.
I got it. I got you for it.
Yeah, that's a fun beer to do.
We had one recently. Super good.
Did I bring that? Was it the
the
Freedom
Scotch,
the
yeah.
Freedom Fighter I brought in? Is that what it is?
Scotch Ale,
Yeah. That beer ages beautifully as well. So very malt forward beers. Bitterness, you're not going to have. They can. It's a little bit of a range, but usually they're not. IPA territory, but rich and malty, caramel toffee, dark dried fruit kind of character.
I like that. Kind of
Yeah.
raisiny.
Yeah.
Datey.
Really good.
Mm-hmm.
The Freedom Fighter that I did bring in, that one has a little peated malt in, which is not, I mentioned it then. It's not typical for the actual style, but at this point,
I think
it's a 30-year-old recipe at this point.
I think a peated one might be good with one of the oak aged beers.
Yeah, I could see that.
Peated oak aged beer.
In small amounts, peat malt is stupidly strong character.
Oh, yeah.
Too much, and you've got if it's got too much, you've got band-aids. You're just drinking kind of that phenolic band-aidy, which is it's hard to balance. Let's say that. Commercial examples you could probably find today: Bellhaven Wee Heavy, Broughton Old Jock, Orkney Skull Splitter.
Oh, I like it.
I don't know if I've had an Orkney Skull Splitter, but I recall drinking a beer that was called Skull Splitter.
It's like 12% beer.
It's up there. It's appropriately named.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it's delicious.
Yeah.
I've had it a few times.
Yeah. Next up,
Belgian Dark.
I love Belgian Darks. I love Belgian Darks.
So okay, not a Belgian Dark, but a strong ale. I've tried to brew strong ales over the course of my brewing career, and I don't think I'm really able to nail a strong beer like I wanted to. Like maybe I wasn't able to be subtle enough and nuanced enough for it. Do you know what I mean?
Like the alcohol presence was either too high and not enough to balance it,
flavor.
Or it didn't finish it.
The flavor. I think the flavor profile was really hard to get down.
I think it's harder to balance. I recall having like a chocolate imperial stout that used cocoa or some dumb thing, and it was like 12.5%, and it was undrinkable. Like all you could taste was the alcohol.
All right, so that's what you would consider strong ale then.
I think personally, anytime I'm into the 9 and 10 and 12% ranges, I'm gonna call those strong beers.
Okay.
I know most of the marketplace, a lot of the marketplace, these days their normal strength beer is 6.5%, 7%.
Right. I thought a strong beer was. I thought that it was somewhat of a style. It could be a very old style, a very old English style strong beer.
But your stout was originally a strong beer. It was a big porter.
Yeah. Oh, and this could be, you know me, I'm dyslexic and everything, and it could be just me not remembering things right when I'm reading or doing research years ago, and just thinking about it, and then I'm trying to brew different beers in my career, and then because there's a time I'm brewing beer twice a week. I was brewing beers, and I was having people would come over to my house. We brew beer and
drink beer,
and they would help. Hey, I got to do this. I had to clean and do that. Blah blah blah. Always better to brew with friends and people.
Sure.
So I was brewing a lot. So I tried my hand at a strong beer, like make it 8%. The alcohol was there, but I just felt like the flavor fell flat. And if I was to do like anything different to it, now I got an IPA, or now I've got a stout, or now I've got an ESB.
Here's
kind of this. So
kind of the things I see going pear-shaped in strong beer. The first one's underpitching. So you've got more sugar to deal with. You need more yeast to do the job too. The hopping profile can change dramatically when you've got a lot of sugar. Your hop utilization actually goes down based on that sugar volume. So you've got to make adjustments. Yeah, you've got to make adjustments. If you want 55 IBUs or insert random number here, it takes more than your 5% beer to get to the same results. So those are kind of the big things. If you underpitch, you can have low attenuation. Fancy word for those of you just tuning in. Without enough yeast in there, they won't finish the job. They'll leave sugars behind, which will lead to a sweeter finishing beer. And if your hop utilization is down, now it's really unbalanced. Yeah. It can go pretty pear-shaped. I was talking about that Utopia beer. They have to babysit the hell out of that beer to get it there. The beer yeast doesn't want to go doesn't want to do 25% without some careful coaxing. Lots of nutrients, lots of care and attention.
During the fermentation, they'll probably pitch the yeast. The yeast will be active at their most active. Mm-hmm. Will they pitch more? And I think kind of keep laddering like a
certain beers I've heard of adding more yeast to it. In certain scenarios, you might just be adding nutrition, more vitamins and minerals, particularly nitrogen. Is it's one of the nutrients that yeast require. That if it's not there, they're going to struggle. We see this in mead a lot. Those drinks can suffer from lack of nutrition.
Yeah,
They'll stall.
definitely.
They'll stall and quit working.
No, it's like barley wine.
Yeah. Speaking of barley wine,
I've never made a barley wine.
neither have I.
I've never made one.
I've also never had one that I enjoyed.
I've had some that I've enjoyed, and I've had some that some homebrewers have made. Really, really good. Really good. A friend of mine went to a barrel-aged brew fest, and there was a few barley wines there. They're hard. It's hard to drink.
Yeah. We brewed a double IPA that we oaked, and it was probably closer to a barley wine when we were finished. And I really hated the beer until I had one that had been sitting in the keg for a year, and it really got good. It was quite magical, and the only drawback was there was only 2 bottles of it left in existence at that point. I hated the young version so bad that I threw it away. I couldn't do. I'm never gonna drink this beer. I can't drink it at work. That's a thing I do. And so I pitched the whole thing. I regret that. I regret that a lot.
Yeah. So what is this Sati beer?
Sati
you're talking
is
about?
Sati.
I'll be honest. I either I don't remember. I'm not familiar with it. I don't know.
Well, we brought it up because we mentioned juniper. So it's a traditional Finnish beer with rye, juniper berries, and juniper branches. You know, they stick just like your Royal Tannenbaum. They stuck twigs in it.
Yeah, twigs.
So it's got a very unique herbal flavor. This is one of those that would be historically brewed probably with hot rocks.
Wow.
Yeah, they would, and they just throw
Now
rocks into.
Now we're talking ancient brewing here.
Oh, way ancient
Oh
brewing.
my gosh, this sounds amazing.
Yeah. Well, good news then, because when we get back from the break, we're gonna share the details on brewing with hot rocks.
Man, this is gonna be some old timey stuff.
We're taking a trip back in time when we come back on the Beer Craft.
But first, I want to give a shout out to our upcoming seasonal beer from Northwest Brewer Supply.
So,
The
I put together a new recipe for the Widmer Brothers Burr clone. That one is going to be releasing in December, and I'm hopeful that it at least holds up to my memories of that beer.
I'm sure.
At worst, it'll be like an appropriate nod to the tradition. Not put that quarter.
Hey, that's third.
That's a third place quarter right there.
Third place quarter.
Yeah, I finally won one. There we go. So yeah, I look forward to. We're gonna be brewing that beer. I'm gonna be brewing that beer in a week or so after the holiday.
Very well.
And we'll bring that into the show.
Sounds really good. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right,
That's
man.
good. We'll be right back, folks.
Right back here on
The Beer Craft.
In the craft beer system, the people are served by 2 equally important groups: the brewers who make the beer and the bartenders who serve the pints. These are their stories, presented by Northwest Brewers Supply. Mazda Man, with his arms slung over a life-size cardboard cutout of his best friend who couldn't attend the festival for reasons, is drinking his blue ribbon beer surrounded by equally passionate enthusiasts and, of course, a new best friend. All thanks to Northwest Brewers Supply.
Welcome back to the Beer Craft Beer and Brewing Podcast. Today, we're taking a page out of history, going way back to the dawn of man for a method of brewing that is just perfect for the winter season. We're talking about Stein beer, or stone beer.
Stone beer. That's right. That's right, Ben. Stein beer dates back to the times when metal kettles were scarce. The fact is that we were making beer long before the Bronze Age. If you ever thought kettles were expensive in these days, brewers would heat stones over a fire and immerse them into the wooden vats containing the mash or the wort. This technique not only brought the liquid to a boil, but also included caramelization of the sugars on contact, and with the hot stones, imparting a distinct caramel and obviously smoky flavor to the beer.
So historically, this method was prevalent in regions like Austria and parts of Germany, and involved heating specific types of stones, such as granite. That kind of stone, it could withstand high temperatures without exploding. The stones were carefully placed in the mash or the boil to achieve the desired temperature. And apart from a temperature control, we also get melanoidin development, as sugars combined with amino acids to create new flavors. These melanoidins are the same thing that makes toast brown and steaks taste better.
Yum.
I'm getting hungry now.
For modern homebrewers, if you're interested in recreating the Stein beer, safety is the most important. It's paramount. It's essential to use the appropriate stones. You want to use granite. You don't want to use lava rocks. You want to use granite or a very dense rock to prevent explosions. And the explosions occur because there's moisture and there's air inside the rock, and it wants to blow open when it gets hot enough. So you want to employ the protective gear and the right handling equipment when you deal with those hot rocks.
Hot rocks. So you get some unique flavors in the Stein beer that we talked about, the caramelization. You also get some slight charring from the stones as they interact with the wort, and those can be kind of nice. You get a little subtle smokiness from that. It's a distinctive taste experience that harkens back to ancient brewing traditions.
Way back when. I told you we were getting back into way old school brewing. If you want to experiment, there's recipes available, and they provide the guidelines on brewing your own Stein beer. These recipes, they often suggest using a base malt, a Pilsner malt, incorporating traditional hops, because that's what they had way back then. They didn't even actually have hops.
Anything that we would
but
recognizably.
A unique twist of using the hot stones during your brewing process to achieve these characteristics, flavors of the historic beer style. We're going to give you a list of gear you're going to need to get started. You know what you need first?
What's
first
that?
On your list? Fire extinguisher.
Safety third?
Because rocks burn.
Safety first. Safety
third. Rocks burn.
Rocks can burn. You're also going to need some personal protection equipment, your PPE. So you're going to need your heat-proof gloves. You're going to need some safety glasses. Handling all those hot rocks in an open flame. And when you add those rocks to the liquid, you can expect a violent reaction. So,
So make a safety plan.
Protect yourself.
Make a safety plan. You'll be managing your brew days well as a fire or a second burner. You're gonna heat these rocks up, so make sure that the area is clear and free of tripping hazards. Almost like making you never set off and run away.
We didn't say that out loud.
So you don't want this. You want the area free of tripping hazards. And if you're brewing with friends, it's a good idea to designate yourself as the only person who's handling the hot stone. Sometimes guys get a little bit overzealous and want to participate. Hey guys, let me get these stones. I can do it. And then your brew day's ruined. And if you just, hey, enjoy a pint while you're brewing. Wait until the end. Handling hot rocks is a bad idea, bro.
Well, drinking, I think handling hot stones while you're imbibing might open you up to some negligence as your insurance premiums rise because your friend tripped over the fire.
And you can still drink at the end of all this. You're always going to drink a tiny bit. I mean, I'm going to confess. You're always going to drink a tiny bit.
Rule number one.
But, you need to have a safety plan. Don't get snockered.
So you're going to need a fire pit or a propane burner because those rocks, they are not going to heat themselves.
They don't catch on fire themselves.
It's weird, I know. And we talked about those rocks, but I'm going to reiterate it. You want granite stones. So I recommend going over to your local landscape supply to source natural granite. You're going to need, at minimum, about 12 to 15 fist-sized stones, about 4 to 6 inches maybe. Granite is the stone of choice. You're going to want to avoid sedimentary rocks as they are prone to exploding, as trapped moisture within the stone will expand when heated, leading to catastrophes and all sorts of bad things. Additionally, watch out for engineered granite. They do make some artificial granite. It's composed of like granite dust and crushed rock, all compressed and held together with an adhesive binder. That binder could melt away in your boil or in the fire. So get real stones, because real stones don't melt.
So, if you want to handle your hot rocks, you want some long, sturdy tongs. Yep. You know those ones you use for your fireplace? They have both handles. Bam. I think you can do that. If your rocks are fist size, you should be able to use that enough. You can use shovels, pitchfork. Pitch them out of the fire. I can imagine losing a rock off a pitchfork. I have a potato fork.
Tongs, I think you're going to be your buddy.
Tongs. This is where your buddy might help. You handle the rock, and you have your buddy maybe put the pitchfork underneath it for safety purpose.
Could happen.
Maybe.
Could happen.
Only if he's not imbibing too much.
Speaking of heat-proof, you're going to need a heat-proof vessel. Your stainless brew kettle is an excellent choice, but if you want to be a little more traditional, you could go with a half wine barrel that still holds water. Before the Bronze Age, we didn't have kettles, so everybody was using hollowed out logs, barrels, stumps of trees.
So make your water, as you normally do, right?
So process, yeah.
Try to maintain the heat your water as your strike water as you normally do, and then you can maintain the mash temperature with the stones. But maintaining the mash temperature is going to be problematic because you may want to finish the mash and manage the boil with the stones. But are we only going to buy 5 to 7? How many are we going to use here?
12 to 15 is a good stuff. Yeah, I would recommend. I would recommend if I was doing it at home, I would do my mash according to my normal process. But but during the boil, we've only got one temperature I give a shit about, and so it's easier to manage. Trying to hold 152 degrees with a bunch of hot rocks is going to be a little bit more difficult.
So this is kind of novelty.
It's kind of a fun thing to do. I brought it up for winter beer because we're gonna have we get to brew outside. We're gonna have fire pit. It's gonna be nice and a little easier to stay warm on brew day as the temperature drops.
Right.
It could be kind of a fun little showcase for your friends.
It is if you have a fun brew day.
Yeah. So incorporating a Stein beer into your winter beers not only pays homage to ancient brewing techniques, but it also introduces unique flavors that could set your offerings apart during the colder months. I do want to shout out here real quick to Daniel Howe, president of the Stilly Mashers, for his guidance on this project. Daniel's actually organized a couple of these brew days with the Mashers and was gracious enough to share his notes with me. So if you're listening out there, Daniel, thank you very much for being a part of this.
Thanks, Daniel. And that's a basics for Stein beer. It's a great way to connect with the roots of brewing while creating something special for your season. So, I want to talk a little bit more about these hot rocks.
Hot rocks.
I was doing a little research on them, and these hot rocks, they actually come from ancient times. We kind of went over this. We kind of hit on the reason we needed hot rocks is because we didn't have a kettle for the Bronze Age.
Sure.
How do we make beer? How do we make wort? How do we create this stuff? So we had to do it in some sort of maybe a wooden vessel. Maybe there was a certain rock cutout somewhere, but we didn't have any way of firing it. So they would do that. They would put these rocks in the fire and now use it. And I'm sure we did that with soup and other
probably
stuff.
all manner of things. I think, in the historic, we probably weren't in Mesopotamia worrying too much about a boil for our beers. A lot of those beers of ancient times were probably raw beers or unboiled, but we had to do a mash. We had to convert starches into sugars.
Yep.
I think malt predates all of this.
It uses heat. It needs heat.
So we have to convert. So how do we do that? I think the hot stones make a lot of sense.
So they're saying that they use the hot stones and they put it right in the mash in order to heat that water.
And I think it's a little more, I think for you and I doing this in our backyard, probably a little bit more difficult to hold 152 degrees with a bunch of rocks.
It is. But it's very interesting.
It's kind of cool.
Interesting how it all started and the history behind it.
I've heard of some of these Sati beers being brewed in hollowed out logs with hot stones.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds
like
really
a-
cool. Like a big hollowed out stump. One that I've seen up in the rainforest. You know,
That'd be
it's
cool.
huge.
Make some beer with that. I think they would probably ladle everything out of it when they were
Right.
done.
So they put the hot rock in there into the mash with the barley, and it's actually like Maillard
That Maillard reaction.
Maillard reaction for this, and caramelizing it and heating it and toasting it all at the same time.
Do some cool stuff. I think that malt. I think the theory is we settled down into an agrarian lifestyle in the 10,000 years ago because of malt, not because of bread, but because of barley malt.
Right. Because of water, we needed to drink.
It's something to drink. Made something interesting. It was pretty cool stuff. We wanted it more. We wanted more of that, so we started cultivating barley in the Fertile Crescent,
cereal grains,
to get more beer.
Right, and they say they used to use a third oats, a third wheat, and a third barley.
A lot of different cereal
some of
grains.
their-
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
some of
there
their
was no Ryan
early
High School but
mashes.
telling them they couldn't
Right,
do that.
this is way before Ryan High School.
I
when they
think
used Gruit.
Gruit's an interesting one. Yeah.
And imagine how many different recipes there were for Gruit. I mean, probably far more recipes than there are for beer right now.
Probably. I think it eventually.
Everybody had their own. little
Gruit
flavor.
ended up being like a closely, a secret recipe, like the Colonel's 11 spices.
Yeah.
And not to be shared with
Heinz
the layman.
57.
Yeah. It was tightly controlled so they could make money off it. I think there's one theory that the pyramids, those weren't slaves building the pyramids, that they were actually paid in beer, like 3 gallons per person per day.
That sustained life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
It's like you could sign up your whole family. You got a
Yep.
family of 5.
Hey, I'll go
That's
and work
15
a pyramid.
gallons of beer a day.
Take away my grain for bread
Call me.
and my flask for beer.
How many friends have you helped move out of their shitty apartment to another shitty apartment with the promise of beer?
Enough.
It is a non-zero number.
And thank you for joining us on
The Beer Craft.
Before your modern-day home brewer, ancient civilizations used song and prayers to preserve and share their favorite home brewing recipes. Today, they use Northwest Brewers Supply for their knowledgeable staff and economically friendly beer starter kits designed to start and keep you brewing deep, flavorful beer at home. Whether you're an experienced home brewer or looking for a new hobby, Northwest Brewers Supply in Burlington is here to help you start and stay home brewing. Visit them on Facebook or at nwbrewers.com for information on upcoming events and classes.
Well, that's all for today's episode, folks. Join us next time as we continue to explore the rich tapestry of beer and brewing. Cheers, folks.
Tapestries. It's all about the carpet of life. The beer weave. Who knows?
Oh, the beer weave.
The beer weave.
Yeah. No, put something together. Put that on your loom and smoke it.
on your loom. Man, I like the Delirium Noel we had tonight.
That was good beer.
The Shiner Cheerful.
Shiner was really good.
That was great.
I think that was an easier beer to drink than the
Absolutely.
Noel. It made less messes on the
I
table,
swear
too.
it's the same beer, Shiner Buck. Excuse me, Shiner
That's a
Buck.
wheat beer.
Hey, it's just my flavors. It's just.
Is this thing still on?
We're almost done, Ben. We're almost done.
Are we-
I'm gonna take my last sip.
I got a little bit left too.
I'm gonna remember the hot rocks and all these winter beers.
Well, thanks again to Daniel
Thank you.
Howell of the Stilly Mashers.
Very good.
For sharing your notes. That was a lot of fun. I might actually try that one of these days.
All right.
Yeah. Go
We'll
get a
try
bunch
it
of
next
granite.
time.
Maybe not next time. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, folks. On
The Beer Craft.